So this year, Tisha B'Av Shechol B'Shabbos comes with its unique challenges and unique halachas. But the one we're going to focus on tonight is the question of Havdallah. So we all know, usually on Motzai Shabbos, we make Havdallah. And that's a machlokas rishonim, whether the mitzvah of Havdallah is a mitzvah min Torah or a mitzvah midrabanan. Everyone agrees, the Gemara tells us in Brachas, Daf Chaf Amud Beis, that the mitzvah of Kiddush is min Torah. The Gemara talks about in the context whether women are chayav in Kiddush or not. Because the Gemara says women are chayav in Kiddush, and the Gemara asks, but why? It's a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. It's a time-oriented mitzvah, and a time-oriented mitzvah women are exempt from. So why are women chayav? So the Gemara answers, Kol sheyeshnu b'shmira, yeshnu b'sechira. Whoever is included in Shmira Shabbos is also included in the mitzvah of Zechira Shabbos. So therefore, whoever is included in keeping Shabbos, like women are, they're also chayav in the positive mitzvahs of the day. So that's the chi of Kiddush. The Rambam writes that Hu adin nashim chayavet in Havdallah. That the Rambam's opinion is that women are also obligated in the mitzvah of Havdallah min Torah. And what is the source of the Rambam? Based on Zohar Yom Shabbos L'Kadsho, the Rambam writes the mitzvah is to remember Shabbos b'chnisaso or b'yitziaso, in its entrance and in its exit. In other words, its bookends. That the Kiddush and Havdallah play the same role. You talk about the uniqueness of Shabbos when it begins and when it ends. So according to the Rambam, Havdallah is a mitzvah min Torah. Others also hold Havdallah as a mitzvah min Torah, but not based on the pasuk like the Rambam warns, based on a pasuk in Parsha Shmini, something along the lines of Lahavdel ben HaKodesh Lacho, the pasuk in Parsha Shmini. So my nafkamina, if they hold it deraisa, the shah would be whether nashim achayev. According to the Rambam, women are chayev in Torah and Havdallah, just like the chayev in Kiddush. According to other Rishonim, even if you hold it deraisa, it could be an independent mitzvah. It's a mitzvah saseh shazman gram, and women could be exempt. And many other Rishonim where Havdallah is only d'Rabbanan. That's why it's a major discussion. Therefore, the Rama writes, a woman should not, if possible, a woman should hear Havdallah from a man, not make Havdallah herself, because it's a shy whether she's chayav. But that's a question all year round, not limited to, it has nothing to do with Tisha B'Av Shechol B'Shabbos. That's in general, it's a machlokas whether Havdallah is the right to d'Rabbanan. So we know we make Havdallah Saturday night. So the question is now that we're going to make Havdallah, but tonight's Tisha B'Av. So does that play a role in our decision of how we make Havdallah? So there's an interesting shita of the Ramban. The Ramban writes that we don't make Havdallah a la coast this year. He says, well, number one is it's based on a Gemara in Psachim. The Gemara in Psachim and Daf Kuf Vav discusses what happens Mishlo Hivdio b'Motzai Shabbos. One who did not make Havdallah a Motzai Shabbos, how long do you have to make Havdallah? So one opinion of Gemara is Kol Hayom Kulo. You have the whole day, Saturday night and Sunday. Hayom Holach Achar Alayla, like Rabbi Kiva says. So you have basically the whole day Sunday. And the other opinion of the Gemara is Kol HaShabbos Kulo. What does that mean, Kol HaShabbos Kulo? So it basically means Ad Yom Revi, up until Wednesday, until Tuesday sunset. And the Ran explains is because the week is divided into two parts. The first part of the week has to do with last Shabbos, And starting Wednesday, that has to do with next Shabbos. That's why I believe in the Shir Shayom we say L'chal Dodi. We don't have a callback service Wednesday morning, but we say L'chal Dodi in the Wednesday morning Shir Shayom. Even whether we say it or we don't, Wednesday is the beginning of the next week. So the Ramban Paskins apparently, like the first opinion, Kol Hayom Kulo, the Chiyuv Havdallah is only Kol Hayom Kulo. So therefore, the time Havdallah, when are we going to make Havdallah? According to the Ramban, we don't make Havdallah ala Kol Saturday night because based on the pasuk in Eicha, all Jews are like aniyim this night, and he's referring to the Gemara in Brachas, which talks about the original institution of Havdallah was distant davening. Later on, when we become wealthy, they instituted Havdallah ala Kos. So, but now that on Tisha B'Av we're all aniyim, so we revert back to the original din, and therefore we all have a din of ani, and therefore there is no Havdallah ala Kos. So according to the Ramban, we don't make Havdallah ala Kos Saturday night, and then the time Tisha B'Av is over, it's too late. It's Sunday night. It's too late to make Havdallah, so we do not make Havdallah ala Kos that week. That's the Shita of the Ramban. There will be no Havdallah ala Kos this week. Presume we'll get into. You might agree with the Borei Moreish, etc. But he says no Havdallah, no Havdallah ala Kos. That's one sheet in the Rishonim. Another sheet in the Rishonim is, no, you do make Havdallah Saturday night. Maybe they agree you can't make Sunday night like the Ramban, but they say you make Havdallah Saturday night. How can you make Havdallah Saturday night? Who's drinking the wine? So they say you give the wine to a katan. You give the wine to a minor. So the question is, they ask on these Rishonim, but what do you mean? The Gemara tells us in Erevin that when they're discussing on Yom Kippur to make a shachiyano a kosher yayin, so the Gemara gets into the whole discussion. So they said, and one of the part of the discussion is, so make the shachiyanu al a kosher yayin to give him more chashivas, to give him more importance, and then give it to a katan to drink. So the Gemara says, bad idea. It's not good chinuch that your child's going to grow up thinking that you drink wine. You should make kiddush. You should drink wine every Yom Kippur, and therefore we don't do it. So how come when it comes to Yom Kippur, the Gemara says you can't do it yet? When it comes, so how could these Rishonim suggest Tisha B'Av do it? So the Rishonim make a distinction between Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av in two ways. Number one is Yom Kippur is Daraisa, and it involves a Chiyuv Kari, so we're always more strict when it comes to Yom Kippur. And secondly, by Yom Kippur, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it every year. So therefore, we're more concerned something's going to happen because you're going to get used to doing it. If you're going to do it every year, you're going to get used to it. However, by a Tisha B'Av Shachol B'Shabbos, it only happens once in a while. So it only happens once in a while, so we don't have to worry about it. So that's these Rishonim. It touches on another topic we're not going to go into now, but that touches on the issue of when you have a meal on a Yom Tainis, what do you do with the Bori Priya Gufen? Do you give it to a katan or not? Are we concerned with this issue of chinuch that by giving it to a katan on a fast day? So we'll see the different Rishonim. There'll be some Rishonim who just say, yeah, you don't give the katan wine on a time where you can't drink either. But that we'll get into. So either way, that's the second sheet in the Rishonim that we don't make. So the Ramban sheet is no Havdallah ala Kos. We don't We don't make Havdallah Lakos at all because we're aniyim, and after the time Tisha B'Av is over, it's too late. The second sheet is no, we make Havdallah Alakos and we give it to a katan. The third sheet is that they clearly paskin like the other opinion in the Gemara, that you can, and that's the way we paskin, that you can make Havdallah Kol Shabbos Kulo. You can make Havdallah for 3 days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So therefore, Saturday night we make a borei. This is what we do halach l'maisa. Saturday night we make a borei ma'orei ha'esh. We don't make a besamim because it's Tisha B'Av, and therefore we're not going to make a besamim at all. And then Sunday night after Tisha B'Av, again it gets into what are you going to be what are you going to be making Havdallah over? So if you're going to be making Havdallah over wine or grape juice, you'll be making a borei pri hagafen. If you're making it over Chama Medina, you're making it over beer, you'll make a shahako. But you just make the bracha, then you do a mavdil ben kodesh l'chol. So, because we paskin that you have until Tuesday to make Havdallah, and therefore it's no problem making Havdallah Sunday night, because that's the way we paskin. It's an interesting discussion. Is this a magical 3 days? Like, what do we do like on Yontif? Let's say Yontif's over Monday night, Tuesday night you want, and a person forgets to make Havdallah. You didn't make Havdallah Motzai Yontif. Do I have 3 days to make it up or not? So Rabbi Akiva Eger says no. There's no magical theme of 3 days. He thinks, maybe he says you can't make. He says maybe you still have the next day. Maybe because Hayom Holach Achar Halayla. So therefore he says you have the next day. Like basically, if Yontif over Monday night, you have Tuesday Shkia, but that's it. There's no 3 day thing. It's only because Shabbos we're the beginning of the week versus the second week. In fact, Rav Shlomo Zalman discusses. Let's say someone forgets to make Havdallah Motzai Rosh Hashanah. So according to Rabbi Eger, make it if Rosh Hashanah is over Monday night, so make it Tuesday. It's a little problem. Because what happens after Rosh Hashanah? On the calendar, somehow Tzom Gedalia always pops up. And Tzom Gedalia you can't eat or drink. So the question is, so by Yontif, we're assuming if you wait after the fast, it's too late to make Havdallah. So you don't have that option. So kind of like the Ramban saying on Tisha B'Av. So Rosh Zalman discusses the issue, what about making Havdallah over a coast during the day and giving it to a katan to drink? So, it touches on, on that issue we have before. But that's a halach l'maisa, we paskin that you make Havdallah on, so again, the 3 shitas at the Rishonim, the Ramban, no Havdallah Lakos at all. The other shita, you make Havdallah Lakos, but you give it to a katan. And the third shita, the way we follow is, we make Boer Mera'esh Saturday night, we don't make Bisamim at all that week, and we make Hamavdal and Goshachol. What do we make Havdallah over? That's the same issue, or perhaps maybe one could argue this year might be different because it's a Tisha B'Av Shenitcha, so really the time we're making Havdallah, it's already the 11th day of Av, because we know the famous Gemara tells us, it's a Machokas in the Gemara in Tainis, I think it's Rav Yochanan says, if I was around when they picked the day of Tisha B'Av, I would have picked the 10th day of Av. Because why? Because the majority of the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed on the 10th of Av. However, and everyone agrees to that. So why did the Chachamim pick the 9th day of Av? The Chachamim picked the 9th day of Av because Tchilaso Prinyaso Adif, the beginning is always the worst. So that's why, that's our minig in a normal year, when Tisha B'Av is over, which is over on the 9th of Av, we're always strict not to do all the things we're strict on during the 9 days. We wait until after Chatzos, because the 10th day was the day the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, so that's why we're strict. However, this year, the time we make Havdallah, the time Tisha B'Av is over, it's going to be day 11, so then I would say there's nothing to worry about. So like many things we don't have to worry about, but the Ramah brings down regarding Basar V'Yayin, that since it's the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and we're fasting on Tisha B'Av, or the 10th B'Av, therefore we shouldn't go ahead. It's not a day which is appropriate to have meat and wine. So it is an issue for Havdallah, but strictly speaking, we would think, well, it's not even an issue at all, because it's the 11th of Av. It happens to be, we're machma even for the 11th of Av regarding meat and wine, not to have it to the next day. Other things you could start doing the night before. So the question then is, so what do we do for Havdallah? So it's similar to the shiloh we just had. I guess I could say whatever you did last week, you do this week. But so the different sheets is, the Machaber seems to say, Rabbi Yosef Cairo, you make Havdallah over wine. That's it. You make Havdallah over wine, and the person drinks it. And the Ramah, he says you make Havdallah over wine also, but he says you should preferably give it to a katan. But he's mod, if there's no one around, you can drink it also. So he's also saying Maker Adin, there's no problem with wine. He thinks the preferable thing is to give to wine to the katan, while the Machaber doesn't have a problem with. He says you should drink it, which could touch into our other issue we were discussing. We'll get into, which could be the Machaber Shita. In a general Shita, if you can't do it yourself, you don't give it to a katan to do. In terms of that could tie into the issue of, we'll see the differences. What do you do on Tisha B'Av, or perhaps on a fast day between Sfari and Ashkenaz? What do you do with the wine? Who drinks it? Who drinks it on Tisha B'Av and who drinks it in Yom Kippur? So it ties into that issue. So either that's the sheet of the Machaber. Both hold Maker Adin wine's okay. The Machaber says no problem with the person drinking it even lechatchila, and the Ramah seems to say best to give it to a katan, but if not, okay. But however, a lot of the other posts can bring down, they introduced Chama Medina, baking over beer. So, again, whichever meaning you're going to follow, you can follow, but to me the issue seems to be, you seem to be choosing which one you want to be more machmer in or meko. In other words, should I be more machmer in Hilchas Havdallah? And i.e. that means you should make it over wine, because their sheet is in the Rishonim that if you have wine available, then you can't make it over Chama Medina. So Al Hilchas Havdallah, even though there are those who might say even, that could be in the Nakuda, that could also be part of the issue, whether you hold, could you make it over Chama Medina when you do have wine available? That could tie in the issue also. But if you're more machmer in Hilchas Havdallah, you're more machmer in the laws of the 9 days. So to me, I would think it makes more sense to be machmer in Hilchas Havdallah, because number one, according to the Rambam, Havdallah is deraisa. Even though according to everybody, drinking the wine of Havdallah is only d'Rabbanan, but still it's a d'Rabbanan, which is mikaro min Torah. Not drinking wine during the 9 days is only a minhag, and during Shur Shachobel, maybe a minhag midina gamara, but it's only a minhag, so I would think to be more machmir by that. But nevertheless, many poskim say they think it's better to drink Chama Medina. To me, I don't really the Machaber makes sense to me is, why is it a shayla? Havdallah is a mitzvah. So why isn't a Havdallah enough of a mitzvah where you could, where it's enough to drink wine? The Machaber seems to be learning that you have to make Havdallah over wine, and therefore, not that you can't make it over Chama Medina, but basically, if you have the option of making it over wine, so that's what you have to do, and that's what even the Gemara says in Nazir in a different context, that even a Nazir perhaps could drink wine Yayin mitzvah, Kiddush and Havdallah. So that's this like you could have meat during a siyum. So that's the pashas to me that if you assume, unless either you're assuming that maybe you don't need wine for Havdallah, that of course everyone, mostly that's what we assume halacha, but that's more if everyone agrees you're allowed to use Chama Medina if you don't have wine available. It's not as simple if you do have wine, but they might learn that during the night, since the minhag is not to drink wine, so we view it like you don't have wine. So again, that could be, different issues in terms of the minhagim. So the bottom line is, just remember, if you make it over wine or grape juice, then remember to say Boi Priyagafen. Many people forget, if you're used to making it over wine and then you use beer, they forget and they say Boi Priyagafen instead of Shahako, and then that's a Hilchas Brachas problem. You're not Yotze. So therefore, if you are going to use beer, which I won't be since I don't drink beer, make sure you make a Shahako. And this too, and then probably, as I think the best thing is probably using grape juice, because number one is, really, even though the minhag is not to drink grape juice during the 9 days, but really the two reasons why you don't drink wine during the 9 days don't really apply to grape juice, how people love this. Because number one is, it's out mishenechnas other mishenechnas of mem'atim b'simcha. So wine brings simcha, grape juice doesn't bring simcha. And the other reason the post can bring down is the reason why we don't have wine and meat is because to remember that we have the Chorban Habayis today, and we can't bring karbanos, and we can't pour wine on the Mizbeach, so grape juice was puzzle for the Mizbeach anyway. So really, al pi svara, one could argue that grape juice perhaps could be mutter during the night. Nevertheless, the minhag is not to drink it, but certainly for Havdallah, that if, one, perhaps drinking, making Havdallah with grape juice, might be a little better than wine, but either way, whether you use wine, grape juice, or beer or Chama Medina, either way, yesh ami lismach, it's either we're talking about, either it's the din d'Rabbanan of drinking the wine of Havdallah, or versus the issue of not drinking wine during the 9 days. So either way, those are the different issues that come up regarding Havdallah by Tisha B'Av Shachol B'Shabbos. Again, our meaning is Bori Morei Eish at night, no B'Samim at all that year, and then you make Havdallah Ben Shachol, and either you make it over, depending what you're making it over, a Bori Priyagafen or a Shahako. This year, Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, falls out on Shabbos, which is a question in its own right. Why don't we fast on Shabbos? The correct assumption is we don't fast on Shabbos. The only fast day that we actually fast on Shabbos is Yom Kippur. And the simple pshat is because Yom Kippur is Daraisa. Yom Kippur is the only biblical fast day. In fact, that's the Machshava, the Mefarshim point out, that's the yesod of Judaism. Judaism believes in being Makadesh T'chol. We believe in feast days a lot more than fast days. The Torah is very concerned about Shmiras HaNefesh, Shmiras HaGuf, taking care of ourselves, eating properly. And therefore there's only one biblical fast day. And the one biblical fast day, you have a biblical mitzvah of eating the day before. Erev Yom Kippur, we have a mitzvah in our Torah of eating. And the simple explanation is that we eat on Erev Yom Kippur in order to have strength that we could fast properly on Yom Kippur. There is one shita which we don't paskin like that says the opposite. We eat on Erev Yom Kippur to make it to make it harder, because we all know come Monday morning we get hungry quicker because we're used to packing in over the weekend, over Shabbos, over Sunday. So therefore, when you're used to eating, if you don't eat as much, so some want to say, but that we don't assume that we assume, like the Rosh and the Rishonim, that we eat on Erev Yom Kippur to give us strength so we could fast on Yom Kippur. And in contrast to other religions have, and they're in the time period now, Ramadan, where they have 30-day fast. They fast although they party in the morning and night, but they have 30 days of fasting. We never have 2 days in a row. And in fact, I spoke to my friend who no longer owns halal, but he sold it. I used to ask him, how's business during the month. Again, Ramadan works on the lunar calendar. They have their own lunar calendar, but they have a lunar calendar, so that's why it happens in all times of the year. I remember the first time I remember Ramadan, goes, 10, 20 years ago. It was like May time. It was May time. It was during the NBA playoffs. That is basketball, and that's the second season. They should skip the main season, let's get to the second season. And they had this player, Hakeem Al-Lujawan, who was, I guess, a born-again Muslim, and they said he was fasting. And I'm wondering, I've been watching him for the past 10 years, he hasn't been fasting. And I realized, well, Ramadan's a lunar calendar, so there is no season. It could happen during the month of July, it could happen during August, it could happen in December. Not only can, and it does. So I'm sure it's much rougher because it's a much longer day and hotter in the summer. But I asked him, how does business? He says business is better because they have parties. So they have a party in the morning, I guess, Agos HaShachar. I'm not sure if they pass in dawn or nights, but they have a party before the fast begins. And then I think, I'm not sure if they go with sunset or Tzeit Chavim, but either way, whatever it is, they have that party. So we don't have that many fast days. We believe in feast days. In fact, all religions get it from the Jews, the Jewish value system. So different religions take different things. The Christians take v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. They focus on, people think it comes from Yashka, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. They actually, I had to tell someone, I had to show him the Bible, he won't believe it, that it comes from Moses. But either way, they take it from the Bible and they focus on the religion of love. And the Muslims seem to focus on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a big day for them, fasting. Yom Kippur we pray 5 times. They do 5 times every day. One day a year we go down kneeling, they kneel. So they seem to focus, Yom Kippur seems to be what they like. Every religion takes different parts of Judaism. We have the big picture, which is all about balance. So, of course, there are times for fast days. Biblically speaking, only Yom Kippur. But midivrei Kabbalah, from the prophets, we have 4 fast days that are done Zeichu l'Churban, that to remember the Churban Abayis, as the Zechariah tells us, the Som HaRavi, the Som HaChamishi, the Som HaShavi, the Som HaSiri, the Som, and that's the 4th day, the 4th month, we already had that. Yud Zayin Tammuz, we had it this year in Yud Ches Tammuz, it was in Nishma as well. Then we have the Som HaChamishi Tisha B'Av. Then we have the Som HaShavi, Som Gedalia, and the Som HaSiyar Sarah B'Tevis. So really it was Midivrei Kabbalah. And the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Ches, points out that B'Zman Hazeh, at least regarding the other 3 fast days, they are no longer Midivrei Kabbalah. They're only Me'ikar Adin HaGemara, they're only a Rishus, but we're voluntold. We don't have a choice, but historically speaking, it was like Ma'ariv. At one point, it was a Tfilas Arishus. Today, we have to volunteer and daven Ma'ariv every night, and we have to volunteer and observe the fast days. And the Gemara tells Shani Tisha B'Av, Tisha B'Av is different than the other 3 fast days. Shani Tisha B'Av, Shehukful Ol Tzaras, double trouble. Both temples were destroyed on that day, as well as many other tragic events. And as the Rambam points out, Tisha B'Av has been taken on as a day of Yemei Avelos for all tragedies. It's not limited to the Korban Habayis. And that's why many feel, Rav Selevan and others, that all the terrible tragedies are mentioned, we have mentioned on Tisha B'Av. And that's why we had keynotes about the Churban of all the Churbanos, but specifically the Churban of Germany. And that's the whole discussion, not for tonight, about whether the Holocaust gets its own day. Where does Yom HaShoah fit into this? But clearly, Tisha B'Av is a day where many feel it was a day that's the day also that includes all the tragedies of Jewish history. Of course, some claim that the better remember the Holocaust on Yom HaShoah than not to remember it all, because they feel you don't get enough justice on Tisha B'Av. Whatever the case is, Tisha B'Av is a day that includes all the different tragedies, and therefore we say kinos about everything on the day. In fact, the Rambam writes that Bizman Bayis Sheni, when the second temple was up, there is a machlokas harishon, this is a dispute, but Maimonides' opinion is they were with Abel even Bizman Beis HaMikdash Kaya, because even though it's true the Beis HaMikdash was up, but once Tisha B'Av was picked as a universal day of Avelis, so even though the Beis HaMikdash was up, and all the other tragedies, it was still a day.
I was told that there are some kinos which are more important than others, according to one opinion.
That what?
But some kinos are more important, like some people don't, like if Tisha B'Av was during the week, you don't exactly have time to say them all. So some people, I heard what one opinion is that you just say a select few out of all of them, like 20 or so.
Well, in general, ideally, one does as many kinas as they can. Whether one should be working on Tisha B'Av is one issue, but let's say even if it's not work, but they have to go. So then obviously each Moradas, or each rabbi or each shul will determine, what's appropriate for, and you could do kinos by yourself, and the shul might feel like the Hamonam can only, it's hard to do the kinos, we don't really know what they mean. It's good to have people explaining them, and today you could go online and get a lot of stuff. If you even forget, don't forget about shul, go to shul, do your kinos, but even, let's say they have to go quickly and finish in an hour, so you could go back home, put it on your MP3, and listen to the keynote sitting on the ground. You don't have to be, but like anything, whether they're all equal or not, in general we assume there's some that are more accepted, and therefore, each rabbi may have different lists, which one to pick, if you're picking and choosing. But even if you do have time, it's hard to go through all the keynotes. It's hard to go through all the keynotes properly. It's hard probably to go through all the keynotes, period. It's even harder if you actually want to pay attention to what you're actually saying. That's even real difficult. And that's how Rav Soloveitchik explained that one of the differences between Tisha B'Av and the Gemara in Yevamos explains the difference. Tisha B'Av is Avelis. So Rav Soloveitchik will probably come back to this point at the end of this year. But Rav Soloveitchik, when he talks about the 3 weeks, the 9 days, and Tisha B'Av, briskers are always into categories. So you can't just say, well, these are different minhagim, it's their own independent period. You always have to find some precedent, some category in halacha. Other poskim, Moshe, they assume it's a mixture. It's not 3 weeks, we took a couple from things, and Tisha B'Av. But the briskers say, no, you have to have a category. So Rav Soloveitchik says the 3 weeks are closest to the time period of Yud Beis Chodesh, the 12-month period when one loses a mother or father, they have to do Avelis for 12 months. Shloshim is related to the 9 days, the time that we're in now. And Tisha B'Av has a din of Shiva. That's how Rav Soloveitchik sets it up. And that's why, interesting, it fits in. There's a whole discussion, do we wear tefillin on Tisha B'Av? So we know, if we don't know, remind you, it's been almost a year, so you might not remember. But at least, maybe Svarim have different practices, but the minhag I'm familiar with is we put on tefillin in the afternoon. That being true, there's a machlokas rishonim whether you wear tefillin at all on Tisha B'Av. And it's a compromise, so we wear it in the afternoon. We put on the talis and tefillin in the afternoon. So what's the issue? Whether you wear tefillin in the afternoon. So if we're saying Tisha B'Av is like an avel, so does an avel wear tefillin? So, well, it depends. By avel I mean during Shiva. So there's halacha avelis yom rishon. An avel doesn't wear tefillin because tefillin is pe'er, glory. An avel is chaf or rosh, is like you're an avelis, so they can't coexist. So avelis yom rishon we don't wear tefillin, but the rest of avelis we do. So there's a discussion when the Gemara, when they talk about Tisha B'Av being like Shiva, being like avelis, what part of Shiva? Did Shiva split up the first 3 days to the last 3 days? So if Tisha B'Av has a din of like Avelis Yom Rishon the first 3 days, then those sheets hold there's no tefillin on Tisha B'Av. The Rishonim will hold, no, Tisha B'Av is like the second half of Shiva, so there is tefillin. So therefore we compromise, we put on, so obviously in the Ikar then we pass and you wear tefillin, and we just out cover to the first, to the sheet that we put them on in the afternoon, but the fact we put them on shows we pass and we do wear tefillin. So maybe we could say up until Chatzos has the din of the first 3 days, and maybe after Chatzos, maybe we line up as we don't sit on the ground anymore, different things we do that we line up to second. So either way, he compares it to he compares it to Shiva. So those are the different categories. So we have Yud Beis Chodesh is the 3 weeks, Tisha the 9 days is Shloshim, and Tisha B'Av is Shiva. So and what part of Shiva? So they point out that Salvation points out based on the Gemara in Yavamas, there's a big difference between Avelis Yishana and Avelis Chadasha. What is new Avelis? What's old Avelis? New Avelis is, unfortunately, when someone loses a loved one. So right now you sit Shiva. That's Avelis Chadasha. Avelis Yishana, the old Avelis is we're being mis'ava over Churban Habayis. We have Avelis over something that happened many years ago. So what's the difference between Avelis Chadasha, Avelis Yishana? So one major difference the Rabbi always points out is, if you notice, it's the reverse. Because how does it work in real Avelis Chadasha, what we call real Avelis? Because we go from Shiva, Shloshim, Yud Beis Chodesh, we go Min HaKaved El HaKal. We go from the more concentrated to the less concentrated, where the most severe loss of is Shiva. We can't leave the house. Then we line up. We have Shloshim, and then we line up. We have Yud Beis Chodesh. But it's the opposite. By Avelis Yishana, first we have the 3 weeks, then we have the 9 days, then we have Tisha B'Av. The Rabbi has why the distinction. Why when it comes to Avelis Chadasha, we go from the Kaveh to the Kal, but when it comes to Avelis Yishana, we go from the Kal to the Kaveh. So the Rabbi explained because Avelis Chadasha, it's reactionary. What do you mean? Obviously you lost your loved one, you're going to feel it right away, immediately. No one has to tell you how to feel. It feels like a ton of bricks. You feel it right. Obviously everyone mourns differently and people are affected differently, but no one has to tell you lost your loved one. And hopefully time heals the new normal, and as time goes on you're able to move on. That's why Shiva, you concentrate totally on the Shiva. But after Shiva you have to go back out and go back to work, go back to live a normal life. It's not easy, but it's the new normal. And Shloshim, it's reactionary, and therefore when it comes to Avelis Chadasha, time usually heals and you move on. When it comes to Avelis Yishana, it's just the opposite. It's so hard for us to be misabel the Churban Habayis. It's something we can't relate to. And Karbanas, this, as much as we try, it's hard, something we don't know what it's real, we don't really know what it means. That we have a Beis HaMikdash, we can't relate to Karbanos, like what does it mean, like slaughtering animals. We know it's important on an intellectual level, but it's very hard for us, being brought up in Western society, to actually try to understand what exactly, but we know it's important, we just don't really fully understand it. So therefore, we have to work on ourselves. So in fact, the Ramban points out that really on Avelis Chadasha, there's a limit to how much you should cry. Of course, it's a high madrega, and of course you should cry, you lost a loved one, but whatever Yoter Midai means, according to the Ramban, it's a very high level, but don't cry too much, meaning because it looks like you have kashas on God, how could you do it to me? But of course, a person should cry and you should be misabel. But the Rav pointed out, when it comes to Churban Habayis, there's no limit. Because why? Not that it's a good thing, but when you lose a parent, that's normal. If you lose a child, that's not normal. But the cycle of life is that you should outlive your parents. So therefore, you're being misabel, but it's something that's a normal thing of life. Most people outlive their parents. But for a Jew, it shouldn't be normal not to have it might be normal for us not to have a Beis HaMikdash, but it shouldn't be normal for a Yid that we could live without the Beis HaMikdash. So it's not a normal situation. So it's not a normal situation. We could cry all day, no limit. You could cry all day on Tisha B'Av. You know how we cry, we get one little tear out, but there's no problem. You could cry. There's no such thing as crying too much because we have to work on ourselves. So we get on the 3 weeks, then we work into the 9 days. Then, and, that's why one of the things. Not that I'm sure it helps somewhat, but let's say shaving. I usually don't shave during the 3 weeks. What do you mean? I usually don't. It says in Shulchan Aruch not to shave. Am I saying a chiddush? Well, there are, it's a separate share, but there are heterim for shaving. If I wanted to shave, Rav Selevan, this is what to rely on if I wanted to shave al pi halacha. And then also in terms of music, you can get into what type of music you can hear, you can't hear. And those, I've given those shirim in the past, and I'll probably continue. But the bottom line, and for certain people, maybe they need to have it. But one of the reasons I don't shave during the 3 weeks, I don't listen to music, because I need something to be different. If I shave during the 3 weeks and listen to music, I'm not a big music guy anyway, it's not such a big deal. But I've been saying it, so Chazal gave us different things to try. Everyone has to take on their own. So at least every day I look in the mirror, I remember why I look at them in the bowl, because it's the 3 weeks, it's 9 days, at least I have a fighting chance. So we should all, do something. In addition, every person reacts differently. We try to do something different to be misabel over Yerushalayim. So it's very hard. And don't think, even if you're not shedding any tears on Tisha B'Av, don't think it's a waste of time, because as Rashi points out, when the Gemara talks about why we misabel over parents, it's covered up, it's supposed to elicit emotions in us, which it does. But let's say someone, it doesn't for whatever reason, they're not the emotional type. So Rashi right there anyway, even if you're not going to elicit emotions, which is the ikr, Anina Shabalev, it's still not a waste of time, because by you acting the Hugi Avelu, you sitting on the ground, you going through Shiva, you are showing kavod ames. You are showing honor to your parents. It's kibbud avayim. So therefore, even if it's not meaningful inside, by doing the act, and in Judaism we believe the actions create the mood. As the Sefer Chinuch, right? That's why God gave us so many mitzvahs, because therefore the more mitzvahs you do, we're affected by our actions. Even though you might feel like a waste of time saying kinas, we have no clue what's going on, we don't understand. You're right. Open up in English and try to understand them. But even if you don't, even worst case scenario, it's still something. It's better than not doing it all. Just like they're showing kavod. I mean, you're showing kavod out. You feel, maybe I'm not the level, but at least I realize Churban Habayis isn't a good thing. And at least minimally I'll go through the motions. Hopefully I will try to do a little more than that. So that's just the background in terms of what Tisha B'Av should be. But specifically this year, just to touch on a few halachas that are perhaps different this year, because it's Tisha B'Av Shachol B'Shabbos. So one issue that comes up is really it's either at the beginning of Tisha B'Av or the end of Tisha B'Av, depending, as we'll see shortly. The question of Havdallah this year. So the question is, because we know we make Havdallah Motzai Shabbos. That's the standard procedure. However, this year there's a potential issue. It's Tisha B'Av. And Tisha B'Av, so let me just point out, by Havdallah, I don't mean, there's no discussion, in Shmona Esrei, you're going to say, Atachal and Tanu, or out of Havdallah, you say, Baruch HaMavdal, you definitely have to make a Havdallah B'Dvarim, that you need. That's not, if you want to do Malacha, you have to do that. But what we're discussing here is Havdallah ala kos. What about having Havdallah, the traditional Havdallah over a cup of wine, or whatever you usually make Havdallah over, Chama Medina. What about that? So, what do we do this Saturday night for Havdallah? So there are 3 opinions, 3 shittas in the Rishonim, and then I'll tell you which way we paskin. So the first shita in the Rishonim is the Ramban, Nechmanides. It will sound like a chiddush to some people. It's going to be the lucky week. No Havdallah this week. The Ramban writes there is no Havdallah. Of course, no Havdallah ala kos. Of course, everyone agrees you have to say Baruch HaMavdil and say Atachal and Tanu. But there's no Havdallah ala kos this year. Why not? Well, I guess because he said it's Tisha B'Av. You can't eat or drink on Tisha B'Av. And therefore he says, there's no Havdallah. So what about after Tisha B'Av? What about Sunday night? Why can't we make Havdallah after Tisha B'Av? So number one, just to explain why no Havdallah ala kos. So really the Ramban writes, we're going back to the original institution of the Gemara. The Gemara tells us the original institution of Havdallah it was just Havdallah b'tfilah. However, when we become wealthy, and I don't think they mean North American standards, it's the Talmud standards, it's a lot lower. But the Gemara considers wealthy, they were able to afford to have wine, and therefore they instituted to do Havdallah ala kos, perhaps patterned after Kiddush, because the Rambam equates the two, to make a Havdallah ala kos. However, so therefore, that's what we do. So the Ramban writes, he quotes the pasuk in Eicha, all Jews are aniyim, all Jews are poor on the night of Tisha B'Av, on the day of Tisha B'Av. And therefore we go back to the original din, and therefore there is no Havdallah al kos. Okay, that explains why no Havdallah Saturday night. What about Sunday night when Tisha B'Av is over? Where's the Havdallah? So there's the Gemara in Arvei Psachim, and Daf Kuv Vav. The Gemara has a discussion, nothing to do with Tisha B'Av, a regular week, a regular Shabbos. Mishelo Hivdio b'Motzai Shabbos. One who did not make Havdallah on Motzai, let's assume he didn't have anything to make it over, or he forgot to, whatever the case may be. He did not make Havdallah Motzai Shabbos Saturday night. How long does he have, if anything? Is that it? If you don't make it Saturday night, it's over, or we give you some leeway. So there's a machloket in the Gemara, how much leeway. So the first opinion in the Gemara is Mavdio Kol Hayom Kulo. You have the whole day for Havdallah. What do you mean the whole day? So Sunday. So basically Sunday until sunset. Until Sunday Shkia, you can make Havdallah. Once you miss that, according to this opinion, that's it. You can't make Havdallah anymore. And the second opinion in the Gemara is Mavdil Kol HaShabbos Kulo. You can make Havdallah the whole Shabbos. What does that mean, you make Havdallah though? I know there is this, strictly speaking, this isn't what it means, but the Rishonim were talking about you can't technically make Havdallah on Shabbos without the candle, but that's not what we mean here. What does it mean you can make Havdallah the whole Shabbos? So the Shabbos really means here the week. That really, the Ram points out, a week is split into 2 days, 2 parts. The first part of the week up until Wednesday, Tuesday sunset, that's part of this Shabbos. And now that we're in Thursday, so already Wednesday we say L'chuna Ranana in the Shir Shel Yom. We're already looking forward to Shabbos. And therefore, we're on the second half of the week. So the first half of the week belongs to the previous. That's also perhaps some say regarding the Halacha Shnayim Mikra of the Echad Targum in terms of assuming it's a weekly obligation, by what point do you have to finish it by? So that, so the Ran writes, that's what it means. Ma'avdil Kol HaShabbos Kulo, you have the whole Shabbos, meaning you have until Tuesday sunset. So it's a machloket in the Gemara whether Havdallah ends on Sunday or goes until Sunday Shkia, Sunday sunset, or Tuesday sunset. So the Ramban seems to go, at first, as one could say, the Ramban follows the first opinion, and therefore there's nothing to talk about. Once Tisha B'Av is over this year, it's the 11th of Av, because the 9th of Av is Shabbos, the 10th of Av is Sunday, which is the day we are fasting, and when Tisha B'Av is over, if you're making Havdallah on the 10th of Av, we'll see. That will get into the Chola issue, whether they make Havdallah, but assuming you're not a Chola, so then the time that you're going to be making, assuming you're going to wait till after after it's over, you would make Havdallah, it would be the 11th. So you could say the Ramban says that's it. It's too late to make Havdallah, and that's it. The Ramban happens to say, according to some, even according to the Tuesday Shita, for this year you can't make it, because that's only if I'm chayav to make Havdallah Saturday night, then you have Tashlumin. But according to the Ramban, some say that even he would agree, even according to any Shita, there's no Havdallah this week, because there's no Chiyuv or Aniyim, and that's it. That's the Ramban Shita. That's door number one. No Havdallah ala kos this year. Presumably, I assume the Ramban will say you still make a Bori Moria Eish, you still can make the bracha over the fire. That's not really Havdallah. We just do it together. And everyone agrees no Bori Moria B'Samim. We don't make that bracha on Tisha B'Av. So that part, I assume the Ramban will agree to the blessing over the fire and no B'Samim, but that's it. No Havdallah ala kos. That is the Shitas HaRamban, a very respected opinion. Let's move to door number two. Other Rishonim say we do make Havdallah Saturday night. The whole 9 yards. But the whole 9 yards, again, no B'Samim. Everyone's in agreement. No B'Samim. We can find agreement on this table. No B'Samim and yes, fire. So that's not... Everyone agrees to that. I'm talking about the other ones, the Bori Priya Gafen and the Amavdil. So these Rishonim say, yeah, of course you make Havdallah Saturday night. Like, why wouldn't you make Havdallah? Maybe you forgot it's Tisha B'Av. And besides, you can't have Basa V'Yayin even during... See, isn't another exception this year. You can't have... But usually, for the Sudat HaMafsekis, the last Suda we have before Tisha B'Av, you can't have meat or wine. This year, you can have meat and wine in Shalosh Shidduchos because it's Shabbos, so there is no... Either, you can say there's no Suda HaMafsekis, you're saying the Suda HaMafsekis, you're having meat and wine, however you want to look at it. But during Shalosh Shidduchos, everything goes, meat and wine. So you say, so how could you have wine? It's Tisha B'Av, according to this opinion. He says, no problem, I'm not going to drink it. I'll give it to a cousin to drink. You find, I guess, the katan shegia l'chinach, whatever age that might be. Each kid might vary different, depending on the intelligence. I'm not going to go there now. But let's assume a katan shegia l'chinach who doesn't know how to misabel al Yushalayim, but he's old enough to know about Havdallah, but he doesn't know what it means to misabel. So you give it to him, and therefore that's it. What's the problem? You make Havdallah Saturday night and give it to a katan. So that's what, and that gets into a discussion in general. It reminds me of an interesting of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. So I said, so we normally assume we pass in like the second sheet in the Gemara. We have until Tuesday sunset to make it. The Ramban would say this year we don't because you're not chayav Saturday, but ordinarily we pass in definitely have until Tuesday sunset. So we have 3 days after Shabbos. Let me ask you, let's say Yantif. Let's say Mishalo Hivya B'Motzai Yantif. Let's say Yantif ended Monday night. Pick any night you want. So do I have 3 days for Havdallah and Yantif? Not so simple at all. Probably not. Rabbi Hiva Eger thinks maybe only 1 day, that day. In other words, let's say if Yantif ended Tuesday night, at best you have until Wednesday Shkia. Hayom Hoach Achar Halayla, and that's it. There's no magical 3 days because of the first 3 days related but on Yantif. So therefore we assume that way. Misha will have the Motzai Yantiv, you only have that next day to make it up. If not, that's it. Comes along of Shlomo Zalman and writes in the, I guess it's Sefer, I think Halicha Shlomo, I'm not sure, one of them maybe Bincha Shlomo. What happens, Misha will hivdil b'motzai Rosh Hashanah. And I'm not getting into the shaila of making Havdallah between Yantiv Rish and Yantiv Sheni. That's a separate issue the Gemara addresses. But Yantiv Sheni, that I guess she heard the shir, she knows you're allowed to have chips, and so Misha lo hivdil b'motzai. Someone who did not make Havdallah on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is over 2 days, even in Eretz Yisrael. You didn't make Havdallah. Let's assume Rosh Hashanah ended, let's say this year I think it starts Sunday night. So it's Sunday night, Monday, so it ends Tuesday night. No, Monday and Tuesday, so it should be Monday and Tuesday, then Tuesday night. So let's say you didn't make Havdallah Tuesday night. So what do you do? So what do we say? You only have until Tuesday sunset. Okay, good. So what's the problem? Make Havdallah. What's the potential problem?
Tuesday night?
No, Tuesday night you forgot. What's the problem Wednesday?
Second half of the week, yeah.
No, then do it. No, but this Yontif, we don't care about the second half of the week. Let's assume it's Thursday. The day doesn't really make a difference. I'm saying Rosh Hashanah. You have to make Havdallah right after Rosh Hashanah. No, you forgot to. Now it's the next day.
Havdallah.
Correct. That's what I'm looking for. Even though today we always have Tzom Gedalia the next day. It might not be actually Tzom Gedalia. That's the way we do it. So it's a fast day. So Rosh Hashanah says, so what do we do now? I can't wait to after Tzom Gedalia because you only have one day. The time Tzom Gedalia is over, I can't make Havdallah. So he has no discussion. So he says perhaps he goes with this middle shita here, the second that you should make Havdallah and give it to a katan. He goes with those. Okay, so I'm just pointing out that some Rishonim will say, well, you do on Tisha B'Av, give it to a katan. But Shlomo Zalman says you do here, and it's a whole separate share. But that's perhaps a whole discussion. What do you do when there's a milah and a tainus? When we do the bris milah. So that's one option. That's a separate share. Some suggest you give it to a katan, or perhaps it's a tosis and erevin that someone got married on a Surah B'Tevis. I guess, it's not the preferable date to get married on a fast day, but obviously you can because Tosis talks about it happening. So again, so they talk about what do you do about the Boy Bri Hagafen, so they talk about giving it to a katan. So already we see the concept of giving it to a katan is not so simple because the Gemara, it seems to go against the Gemara. The Gemara says in Erevin, the Gemara talks about making a shachiyanu the night of Yom Kippur, which we do. So the Gemara suggests we should make, it's always, all the time we make a shachiyanu, we try to do it over a kos, a boi priyagafen. It gives it more chashivas. So the Gemara has a suggestion, Yom Kippur, when we make the shachiyanu right by kol nidre, right after kol nidre. So let's make a boi priyagafen and give it to a katan. That's the Gemara's suggestion. Leil Yom Kippur. The Gemara says bad idea, not good chinuch. The kid's going to grow up thinking that you drink wine every Leil Yom Kippur. So the Gemara rejects it. So what about these Rishonim who say Tisha B'Av, give it to a katan? Didn't they learn the Gemara? So what's the difference? Why? Everyone agrees to Yom Kippur. The Gemara rejects it. So how do these Rishonim say? But how do they make a distinction between Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av? Well, the two potential distinctions. One is Yom Kippur is Daraisa and Kares. Tisha B'Av isn't. But still, it still wouldn't be good chinuch. But the major difference is if you do a Yom Kippur, it's going to happen annually, every year. So you grow up, it happens. But as we all know, it doesn't happen every year that Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos or Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday. So since it's only that happens once in a while, getting married on a Surah B'Tevis isn't a usual occurrence. All those things, forgetting Havdallah on Motzai Rosh Hashanah isn't a usual thing, we hope. And therefore, all the times those Rishonim who say, not everyone agrees you should, but all those Rishonim who say to give it to a katan are always on cases which are akrai, are only things that happen once in a while. So therefore, we're not worried about the chinuch issue. So that's door. So we had the Shitas HaRamban, no Havdallah ala kostis here. We have door number 2. No, there is Havdallah. In fact, Havdallah Saturday night. Everything's as usual, and you give it to a katan. And then the third shita, we make Havdallah a Motzai Tisha B'Av, which is the 11th day of Av. So clearly, those Rishonim are going with the second sheet in the Gemara, like we paskin, that we have until Tuesday sunset to make Havdallah regarding Shabbos. And therefore they say, again, everyone agrees to the Borei Moria Eish. Alach L'maisa, we follow this opinion, so listen carefully. What you're going to be doing Saturday night is you'll be making the borei morei eish over either an electric incandescent bulb or a fire, whatever Yeshua is going to be doing. No borei morei eish, we don't make that bracha on Tisha B'Av. No, and then when Tisha B'Av is over on Sunday night, you're going to make Hamado ben Kodesh L'chol, and then either you're going to make a borei pri hagafen or shahakol niyeh b'dvaro, depending on what you're making Havdallah over. What should you make Havdallah? Once we're on the topic, what should you make Havdallah over? So we got that. So either we don't go with the Ramban, no Havdallah. We don't go with the Shita, don't give it to your katan. Even though if you did, you have what to, I wouldn't say you're not Yotze, you have what to rely on, but that's not the way we paskin. We paskin no Havdallah into Motzai Yontiv. So really you would say it's not really, maybe you'll say it's not really an issue because it's the 11th day of Av. And the only reason we usually machmir on the 10th day of Av is why? Because the Gemara tells us in Tainis, Rabbi Yochanan says, if I was around, I would have picked the 10th day of Av to pick as the Iker fast day. Why? Because the majority of the temple was destroyed on the 10th of Av. And I would ask, why did the rabbis pick the 9th? Because we all know, Techilaso Purniasa Adif, the beginning of the punishment, the beginning of the pain, that's always the worst. You know, when you're there, that periodontist is drilling, like when they're taking the gum surgery, the whole works. Need I go into it? Let me tell you, the mental anguish, the kli hashchasa they have there, the beginning is the worst. And make sure you take the painkiller right away before that's a separate share. Okay, so getting back, so therefore really, what's the issue? Everyone should agree to make it over wine now. Because it's the 11th of Av this year. No, but anyway, the Rama writes that since everything else you can do, when Tisha B'Av is over, you could, assuming you haven't been doing it up to now, haircut, shaving, laundry, showers, that no problem, you could do. But they say regarding eating meat and drinking wine, you should not do until the next day. Because the special Chumrah, it was the day where you were fasting, the day of the Churban, you shouldn't have meat and wine. However, what about for Havdallah, the question? You shouldn't have it at Yisuda. I'm saying, even though you might think it's the 11th of Av, you can't, that's another difference to see, you have to wait till the 11th of Av. But, so what do? So could you make Havdallah over wine? So really it's the same issue as we just had this past Shabbos. So what did you do this past Shabbos? Because we were in the 9 days. Misha nichnas av mamatzah b'simcha, so we didn't have, so it's a similar issue. So we have a couple possibilities. So either you make it over wine, and then you again, so one sheet is, it seems to be the sheet of the Machaber. Havdallah is a mitzvah. You're allowed to have wine for mitzvah purposes. No different. You make Havdallah over wine, and you drink the wine personally. That is the sheet of Machaber. The sheet of Rama, he kind of agrees, but he says, make it over wine, but the old give it to the katan. Give it to the katan shegia u'chinuch, but he doesn't know the misabo of Yushalayim. And then the Rama himself writes, if there's no katan, you don't have to go around waking him up. He's not saying that, but I'm saying that, and you drink it yourself. So he just says, l'chatchila, he thinks give it to someone to a katan, but he also agrees. And so it seems to be a black and white case. But yet, many of the poskim, including Rav Moshe Feinstein, I saw Rav Shimon Ida bring down that Rav Moshe held to make Havdallah over beer, and people make over Chamam Radinas. So what is this issue? Whether you make it over wine or you make it over beer, it's the same issue. Last week and this week, we have 2 this year. So to me, the issue seems to be you have to make a choice here. Usually, that's the way it works in life. You need a balance. You have to have the whole big picture. Usually, if you're strict in one area, you're going to be lenient in another area. Like the famous Rav Chaim. Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, they were known, briskers are known to be machmir on everything. The chumrah of the week. The point is, but at least that chumras make sense. When the briskers are machmir, the machmir, for good reason, mean they have good basis. They have rishon. I don't mean people make chumras out of nowhere. But the briskers actually have basis for the chumras. And that's just a shita that they just machmir all the time. So The Rav Chaim was known to be Mekel regarding a chole and Shabbos. More than what the Shulchan Aruch said, he was more lenient. So they asked Rav Chaim, what are you doing? You brisk because you're always machmir. Why are you so Mekel on Hilchos Shabbos? He said, what are you talking about? I'm not lenient on Hilchos Shabbos. I'm machmir on saving lives. I'm machmir on pikuach nefesh. It depends how you look at it. So therefore the same thing here. You got to pick your medicine. You either could be strict regarding Hilchos Havdallah. Everyone agrees it's better to have wine for Havdallah. In fact, some say if there's wine available, you can't even use Chamar Medina. But either if you're strict by Hilchos Havdallah, it's wine. If you want to be strict on the 9 days, then you go with the beer. So to me if I have to pick and choose, to me it makes more sense to be strict on Hilchos Havdallah. Why? Because Hilchos Havdallah is a din d'oraisa according to the some Rishonim, and even though everyone agrees that the drinking of the wine is only d'Rabbanan, but it's a mitzvah which is mikaro min haTorah, while the 9 days is only a minhag. And maybe Shua Shachobel, but so to me it makes more sense, and that seems to be the Machab and the Ra. I'm not sure exactly why many of the poskim today they go with Chama Medina. To me, I think wine is better, but I think, to me, again, you could follow your minhag. You have what to rely on. Ramosha says, but you don't have to follow what I think. But I'll just tell you what I think anyway. I think grape juice is the best. Why grape juice? Because Misham nichnas av b'matim b'simcha. So one of the things basav yayin. So wine brings us joy. Grape juice doesn't. If grape juice brings you joy, you might have some other issues. It's wine that brings you joy. So grape juice, number one, there's no hana with grape juice, none that I'm aware of. And secondly, what's the other reason the poets can bring down why we don't have wine? Because it's zeichul churban that we used to bring the basar and the yayin on the carbon. With grape juice is pasul for the carbon. You can't bring grape juice. So I'm saying so to me, grape juice is the best angle because in terms of Hilchos Havdallah, you're being machmer to boy priya gafen, and also really they didn't have in mind grape juice because it's not the simcha, and therefore my opinion is that grape juice is the best. But again, you have yeshami lismoch whatever your minhag is, you can continue to do because you have a lot of greater poskim who make it over Chama Medina. But then you have those who all say, I have good backing also in the Machab and the Ramah. They even say wine. I'm even saying grape juice, and that would be the halacha. So again, so therefore, to summarize, we do the no besamim this year. You make the borei morei eish, and then if you go with me, you make the borei priya gafen. If you go with the beer or Chama Medina, you make a shahako, and you make hamaldo ben kol shocho. You make it Sunday night after Tisha B'Av, because we paskin Mavdil Kol HaShabbos Kulo, you can make Havdallah until Tuesday sunset.